Yeah. Yeah. That was a beautiful welcome song that I have written especially for you, dear crypto friends, to welcome you back. It has been such a long time, and I've returned to you at the turn of the tide in these dark hours. I have been sent back by the crypto gods because my mission is not over yet. I wanted to retire. I wanted to say, okay guys, it's done. I'm going to relax. And then they said, no, Sebastian, no, your mission is not over. You have to return, and we will increase your powers. We will give you even more predictive powers now, and you must complete your mission. And now I'm back. Here I am. Wiser than before. My hair is even whiter than before. My powers have been increased. Now my predictions are only wrong 80% of the time instead of 90%. I think that's a huge boost. So I think we can get started and dive right into this crazy market. And in the time where I've been absent, insane stuff has been happening. My God, you think that the last 2 years were already crazy, with lockdown and all this stuff. And also we would like to know what are the consequences of this crazy geopolitical events that are now unfolding in Eastern Europe. What are the consequences now for the crypto market and for, stocks and all the stuff? So does it mean moontime? Is moontime postponed now? What will happen with crypto? What will happen with coins? So let us start, dear crypto friends. Let us start with the long-term chart, the good old Bitcoin weekly long-term chart. It's been a while. I don't remember when I made the last video. I think it must have been somewhere in this area here. So you see that actually not so much has happened. Bitcoin is making a fascinating structure that it has not done before in this style. That's why in my previous videos I have said that Bitcoin has changed its behavior. I did never believe that we would make just a repeat of the 2017 cycle or the 2013 cycle, because this would have been too easy, right? I saw all the time the predictions like, oh, we're going to have all-time high by the end of 2021 because 4-year cycle. Well, guess what? It didn't happen, and it was kind of obvious that it wouldn't happen because this would have been just too easy, just every 4 years. And it wasn't every 4 years in the beginning. I don't know how people got this idea, because if we look at the time scales, date range. So the first rally, right? The first rally was how long? 322 days, okay? The second market cycle was how long? 903 days, okay? The third market cycle was how long? 1,477 days. So please tell me how anyone got the idea that we have a regular 4-year cycle. What? Because once it was 4 years? Because one single time it was indeed a 4-year cycle. So that means forever it's 4-year cycles? That's not how it works. We have the cycle length we see clearly increasing, and you will see that in my last video I predicted upon these length increases. I calculated that the most likely cycle top will be in December this year, so late in December this year or early January next year. So just taking these the cycle durations here and continuing this trend by how much it increased, we will get basically that the cycle peak will be in December 2022 or January 2023, right? So what does this mean if we say December 2022 or January 2023? That means that Bitcoin will do insane stuff, we don't know what, and then at some point later this year it will go berserk, and we have a cycle top at around 230,000, because that is about the upper band given by the previous cycle tops in this, in this fit, because this is basically a long-term fit of all the data points. And it's just a fit. You can fit it also in different ways. I've seen different fits, by the way. It's not said that this is the one true best fit, because it depends how exactly you weigh the data points. I have seen, for example, other YouTubers use a slightly different fit. It depends how much you take into account certain points. I personally think that this was an outlier here, so I don't take it into account so much, okay? So I'm saying like, okay, this here is basically an anomaly which was caused by the COVID dip. So basically I don't put so much weight into it, but there are other YouTubers who put much more weight into it, and then of course this whole band here, if you put more weight into it, will be flatter, right? Because you say, okay, this has now more weight, so this qualifies as a lower bound, so this whole structure here will be flatter. This means basically that the price targets are in turn lower. I personally do not agree with this. I think this was an outlier, and it shouldn't be taken so seriously, and therefore don't put so much weight into it. So I think basically the upper band by the end of the year is at 230,000 and the lower band is at around 40,000. And we know that Bitcoin does insane things. The short-term predictability is like almost impossible, you know. Short-term, like making short-term Bitcoin predictions is just crazy. It's chaos. You cannot predict chaos with a high probability, because there are insane random fluctuations. So that's why I want to do more like long-term predictions. I'm honest with you. I'm not good at short-term predictions. I cannot tell you exactly what Bitcoin will do in the next 1 or 2 weeks, but I can tell you with a quite high likelihood what it most likely will do in the next 1 year, 2 years. Those are the time frames that what we must look at, because if you want like, oh, it's going to do next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that is like so crazy and so random sometimes that I cannot make really high probability predictions, even with my increased powers. Imagine that. That's crazy. So yeah, I think basically it's still looking okay. We don't have any grave warning signs. If we look at, for example, the RSI indicator in the weekly, what do we see? What is this stupid yellow line here? I don't want this yellow line. Okay, sorry for this small outburst. So, what do we see here? We see, what do we see? We see that the RSI is falling, right? It makes lower lows, whereas the price chart is making higher lows. And what do we call this, friends? What do we call this? Yes, you there in the third row. Yes, you. That's right. Exactly. A hidden bullish divergence. That is a so-called hidden bullish divergence. And that means that long term on the weekly chart, Bitcoin is actually making a bullish structure. This is a bullish structure. The RSI in the weekly was very low anyways. Look at how low we went. We went to 37. That is like that is not so far away from the COVID low at 33 and from the absolute low in 2018 at 29. That is not so far away anymore. So the RSI was super crazy oversold, okay? Have I emphasized it enough? How oversold it was? Have I emphasized it enough? Huh? So what does that mean? That means basically that we have a hidden bullish structure, and Bitcoin, I think, is preparing for a brutal run. How exactly it will look, I cannot tell you, okay, friends? I cannot tell you like, oh, we will go now up in a straight line. Maybe it will also happen that we pump a bit and then suddenly we dump, right? Because Bitcoin loves doing that. Like, oh, everyone is getting bullish, like, wow, we are going up, and then suddenly, bam, we are going down, and then we are stabilizing, and afterwards we are going up, right? I could totally see that happening. But what is clear from this setup, that we have a hidden bullish structure. This hidden bullish divergence, especially on such long time frames, is normally worth something. It's normally these long-term divergences in Bitcoin are quite accurate. For example, we had before this very long-term bearish divergence, right? If you remember, I was saying in one of my old videos, like, hey friends, look here, we have here a higher high, right? It made a high at 69,000, and this is here, like, the high is only at 64,000 from April 2021. Yet look at this incredibly bearish divergence, right? So the peak here in the RSI was far lower than here. This means we had a very bearish divergence, and lo and behold, we indeed dumped like crazy, and we have been dumping for months now. And yeah, but it was no surprise, because these long-term divergences are normally quite accurate on Bitcoin. So if we now have this, as I said, hidden bullish divergence, you can be quite sure that it is normally an accurate thing. I think basically we will now get some random insanity. I cannot tell you what will happen in between, but I think by the end of the year we will go to 230,000, and then in December, January, we will be at 230,000. And there are other indicators pointing towards this. Now let's get to the crisis. What does this Ukraine crisis situation, insane shit that's happening there, and makes me sad, and I'm honestly, it's brutal. It makes me sad. Let's look at stocks, the stock market, the stock indices, and now we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it is fascinating, right? The Dow Jones Industrial Average, so in the monthly chart, one candle is 1 month. And here I have the Dow Jones from now, and here below I have an overlay, or like a copy paste of the Dow Jones from from 1914, yeah, okay, from 1914, beginning of First World War, until the giant crash of 1929, the huge bear market from 1929 to 1932. Okay, I just take this overlay here. Right? This here. This overlay here is what I have prepared here, and I have stretched it already to measure the timings that we have now, and we can see this crazy eerie similarity. Okay, this is an eerie similarity we see here between the Dow Jones from what it's doing now and what it did in 1929. Okay, this is insanity. I mean, look here, this first peak here, bam, second peak here, bam, then this structure here, bam, then this structure here, bam, then this whole thing here, bam, and then even to make it even crazier, in the end we are wobbling around here, we are wobbling around in this area, bam. What the hell is going on? Are you kidding me? I mean, is this a coincidence? I don't know. I don't know, but it sure looks like more than only a coincidence to me. And what's happening now is that the American Fed said, okay, we have to raise interest rates now, right? So they announced a rising of the interest rates. But now we basically have this insane situation in Ukraine, and the whole crazy situation with Russia. So Russia is excluded from the world economy. It's being excluded from the SWIFT system. It's being excluded from international trade, basically. So the Russian economy will be completely like, oh man, this is crazy. The Russian economy will is in free fall. It's like free fall, and this of course will have implications for the world economy. That's clear, right? Because economy is interconnected. The whole world is interconnected. Globalized trade, globalized trading networks. So it will have a huge impact on the world. So what will the Fed do? The Fed will then say, oh damn, this is a brutal crisis. We cannot raise interest rates now. This is too insane. We shouldn't raise interest rates. So they will announce that, this thing with the interest rates, we will not be able to do it now because the situation is too insane. So what will happen? We will get a rally, and look how crazy this coincidence is. So I think we are here right now, and we didn't see this last push, this last crazy push here. We did not see it. So I think we are here, and then this last push, this last push here. This is what will happen. We will see a last push, and the timing is exactly such as to have a peak by the end of the year. Sometime by the end of the year. November, December, October, something like that. Okay? And why? Well, because suddenly the markets will be euphoric, like, oh wow, the Fed is not raising interest rates because of the Ukraine situation. Wow, free money, the money printer, yeah, the money printer is being turned back on. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Everyone is going crazy, the markets are going up, everyone is euphoric buying stocks, and we know that Bitcoin and crypto is correlated to stocks. I wish it wasn't so, friends. I can tell you, I'm upset by it. I wish that Bitcoin was independent from the stock market. Bitcoin is just following the stock market. I'm disappointed by this, okay? I'm disappointed. I wanted Bitcoin to be an instrument of a safe haven asset where you flee, you put your whole net worth into when times are getting bad, and times are pretty bad. So it's strange to see that Bitcoin is so correlated to the stock market. So basically what is happening now, the Fed will say, okay, we're not raising interest rates. Everyone is buying stocks like crazy. The stock market will pump, will make this last push upwards, And then I suppose that the current Ukraine crisis will get felt, the economic implications. Because don't forget, not long ago, we had like lockdowns. We had like this crazy COVID shit. And now this stuff, like the world is going crazy. So we haven't even recovered from the first pandemic stuff. And now the world is going completely nuts. And basically what's happening then is that the implications for the world economies will be quite grave, I think. And the Fed will get into like real trouble because inflation will start soaring now. Now more money is being printed again, right? Let's turn the money printers back on. Let's not raise the rates. Money is being printed. And then we have a supply constraint situation now, which led to this insane inflation in the first place. And now inflation is already extremely high. It will get even higher. And then the Fed will say, oh, damn, I think we have to raise the rates. This is getting out of hand. But at the same time, then the full brutality, the full brutal effects of the Ukraine crisis, economic effects for Russia, for the whole world, will be felt, will kick in. And this might trigger a brutal sell-off, and this might be the reason, or this might be what could lead to the next 1929 scenario. I don't know, and honestly, I don't think we will get such an insane drop, because if you look at what happened in 1929, it went below these lows here. Like, it went to levels that are so low that I don't even want to think what would happen if we would go so low. We would go below the level of this peak in 2009, like this low in 2009. We would go below these levels, and I don't even want to think what this would mean for the world economy. This would be certainly no fun, and we do not want that. So I think the fall will not be so brutal because the world economies are much more robust now than 1929, okay? They are more robust now. We have better systems. It's more like the economies are more interconnected, digitally interconnected also. So I don't think the fall will be so crazy, but the fractal is here, and it is kind of insane how similar this looks. So, I'm just saying this is like kind of a thing that we should not ignore. So basically, this could lead to an insane sell-off and a bear market in stocks, in the stock market, and a bear market in crypto. And that's why I think we will get a rally towards the end of the year, and then a bear market also for Bitcoin. And if we now go back to the Bitcoin chart, basically, I think Bitcoin most likely will start pumping now because it's really oversold. The stochastic RSI, if I also put it here, is really, really low, has been really oversold for a long time. So I think it wants to rise again. Every time when we have been really overbought, especially for a very long time, then it just wants to rise again. It wants to go up. So it will go up. and then it's like everyone, yoo-hoo, yeah, the rally is going on, we're going to the moon, and then bam, you know, that would be something that would be a classic Bitcoin. That is like Bitcoin classic. Everyone is getting hyped, and then in your face, and then everyone is losing hope, and then afterwards, we're going to the moon. Like, what the hell is going on? I can imagine something like this happening. But please always be aware that I'm just telling you possibilities and probabilities. I wish I was Gandalf. I made this funny Gandalf reference. in the beginning. I'm a super Lord of the Rings nerd. Guys, I've read all the books, even the Silmarillion. I've read Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales 5 times. Don't talk too much about Lord of the Rings. So what did I want to say? So yeah, I can absolutely imagine something like this happening. You know, we pump now, and then we get a brutal dump. And I've seen some people doing some fractals like these here. Just a second. You know, if we take that fractal here, for example, that would fit kind of well. You know, some structure like this one here, where we have a pump, and then we go down, and then it's going up again, and then we have this kind of dump situation, and then we go up again. Or I've seen also fractals being used. I think the blockchain backer uses this fractal. By the way, there are a few good YouTubers out there whom I respect, and they do good analysis. I think Blockchain Backer is one, and Benjamin Cohen is the other, and I think they are doing really good analyses. So there are really good people out there on YouTube, and I think the Blockchain Backer has basically done this fractal, if I'm not mistaken. So he says basically he's making this kind of overlay. Yeah, I think he's making this overlay here, and if that is true, and it really fits kind of well, it's especially this here, from here onward. It fits really surprisingly well. And he says basically, okay, now if that happens, we will pump now to around 57,000, 58,000, you know, to this price range, and then we go down again, and then I don't know what will happen, because a fractal is just a fractal, and history never repeats one-to-one again. But it is a possibility, you know, it is a possibility that we go up now, go down again, and then at some point we will of course deviate from this fractal, and then we will start going to the moon, to 230,000 by the end of the year. The target still remains. Also, we should not forget that the dollar index, you know, our good old friend, the dollar index, is not looking healthy. It is not looking healthy. The dollar index will dump. If we take a look at the Bollinger Bands, you know, if we take a look at the stochastic RSI, let me just load the stochastic RSI. So the dollar is overbought like crazy. It has pumped, like, look at this. It has been pumping for months now without correction. The stochastic RSI is brutally overbought. What do you think will happen? We are like at the end of the Bollinger Band. We have huge resistance on the monthly Bollinger Band. Stochastic RSI brutally overbought. So every time this happened, you know, we were at the upper Bollinger Band, and stochastic RSI overbought here. Every time we had brutal dumps. This is the only time where I see that this did not happen, but the situation was different because the Bollinger Band here was really narrow, and it didn't start pumping from such a situation. Here the Bollinger Band was really wide, so the situation is really not the same as here. This was a breakout in a narrow Bollinger Band, which was not the case here. But here again, you know, upper Bollinger Band, it's getting overbought. Upper Bollinger Band it's already super overbought here. Here also, you know, super overbought, upper Bollinger Band. Every time we have these situations, the probability is really high that we get dumps. And I think that we will see the dollar dump as soon as the Fed announces like, oh, sorry guys, the world situation is now really not so nice, we cannot raise the interest rates. I would not be surprised if that happens, honestly. So you see, these things unfolding in the world right now are extremely sad and make me sad personally, but they are kind of pointing towards a situation where Bitcoin, let me just load Bitcoin again. So you see we have the situation now in Bitcoin where we are already in the lower long-term trend channel, so we are not so far away from the low. The strongest support for Bitcoin always has been the 200-week moving average, the MA200. And this has been touched a few times, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So we could see a return to the MA200. We could see something like this. We pump now, we hit the MA200, go sideways, and then we pump towards the end of the year. I think something like this would be in line with Bitcoin's usual behavior, where it just fools everyone. It fools the bulls and the bears. It's like, oh, now we're pumping. And then everyone's like, yeah, to the moon. And then, bam, it's dumping to 20,000. And then everyone's like, no, it's the end of the world. And then, bam, it's going to the moon. You know, that would be a classic Bitcoin, a classic. So, I think it's already starting to pump now. It's already at 40,000 something. When I started recording, it was quite a bit lower. So we could see this pump now happening to around 50, 55, 60,000. And then we could get a dump again. And then we could pump until the end of the year. So it's hard to say what will happen in the short term. I'm absolutely not sure about this. I'm absolutely not sure. But what I'm pretty sure about is that long term, by the end of the year, Bitcoin will make new all-time highs. We will hit $200,000 in December or January, and this is in line with the dollar index. This is also in line with the stock market that, as you saw with this insane 1929 fractal, is looking super insane and basically really pointing towards a pump for a few more months until the end of the year, and then maybe a huge recession. We shall see. I hope the fractal will be wrong. I sincerely hope it. But this is certainly something that we should keep in mind. So then, friends, I hope you're not too saddened by these insane things happening around the world. It's crazy, certainly crazy times, but we will all get through it and there will come better times again. I'm pretty sure about it. So then, I wish you all the best and see you in the next video. Ciao!